This is Bestie Life, helping you find the bliss in your busy. I'm Daniela, and today I'm here with Tanya Slater, a busy homeschooling mom of two who has spent the last 10 years decluttering her home and her life. Hear her story, how she has overcome mental health issues and helped improve her world and those around her. Thanks so much for joining us. Hi, this is Daniela with Bestie Life, and I'm here today with Tanya Slater of the Girl Who Simplified. Tanya helps women declutter their space as well as their life. And so I'm excited for you to hear Tanya today. Hi, Tanya, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, Daniela. Thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, absolutely. We've only recently met through Clubhouse and a couple of chats. And so if you could share a little bit about yourself personally and professionally.
Yeah, for sure. So I am based, I'm sure you can tell from the accent, in the UK, in the southwest in Somerset. I am mum to two young boys who I've been home educating for 2.5 years now, although we're in a bit of a transition, possibly going back into mainstream education. So we're climbing a few mountains at the moment. And professionally, I'm kind of calling myself a decluttering expert, but it's really lovely to be having conversations like this to just introduce people to the idea that it's so much more than that. And yeah, I've been on a massive journey. I've got my own story like everybody has, and that's what's brought me to helping people, just opening their eyes up a little bit to the idea that possibly the things in their home and their environment might be either boosting them and helping them, or it could be holding them back, and then just helping them, guiding people through that clear, like you say, declutter their space.
Yeah. So what brings you bliss? What brings you happiness? What are the things that kind of really light you up?
I was thinking about this earlier after you kind of gave me a heads up of some of these questions, and I was like, wow, what does? And I think I was looking for something bigger than it actually is. And from the life that I've had and been through quite a few challenging times, I actually realized that just having time, space, and calm in my life is absolutely my bliss. I've always been a worrier, and I don't do that so much more now. So it's more peaceful in my head. And when I can live like that, I feel, yeah, bliss is absolutely the word. I love that word.
Right. And I love how you've shared with me in other conversations we've had the connection between getting rid of what people just think of as stuff and how that has translated then into other like non-tangible things that they've been able to let go of, like you said, worry for you, or you've shared, I think it was, boundaries, being able to set them, or different stuff. Can you share a little bit more about some of that transformation or connection between the decluttering and what else it's connected to that you've seen?
Yeah, definitely. So just to kind of give a bit of context, that I've been decluttering for just about a decade now. And it was something I kind of fell into. But when I first started, I was, as I shared with you, and I do share anyway, I was in a really dark place. I was having suicidal thoughts. I was clinically depressed and was on medication and a few other things. And at the time, mum to a baby and a toddler. And I started just unconsciously, like I say, without intention, clearing out the items in my home. And I had a couple of conversations with people, and they said, it sounds like you're clearing out old energy. And I'm all about energy. I'm an avid and loyal student of the law of attraction, which I know you know about as well, and that you practice. And this word energy, and I just started to look at the things that I had already removed. I thought, yeah, I'm kind of removing this old relationship that had just ended with my children's father and a few other things. And I just kind of went on. And as I went on, I felt my mental health and my well-being getting better. I felt lighter and brighter. And then a few years into that, when I realized I had actually created a nice, like I was saying earlier, driving off of this calm and this space, my home was what supported that. And the curious little girl inside me kind of went, oh, wow, I wonder if, clearing out these apparently inanimate objects, that's really powerful. What else could I clear out? And I think what I found was that once I'd created this space, that gave me clarity on what was most important to me. Like you asked what my bliss was. And I think along that journey in sorting my house out, that's what I realized. My bliss was not feeling depressed anymore. My bliss was having time and space to just arrange my thoughts in my head. And so, yeah, like you say, you can then go on to clear other things. So I started going around the wheel of life, and I looked at my friends and my family. That was a very challenging thing to look at, decluttering, or
Yeah.
sometimes I say decluttering, sometimes I say mindful clearing, and I think they're slightly different. I think you can clutter your house, but then when you carry that on, it's more a bit mindful clearing and just being intentional about what you kind of clear out. Yeah.
Because it doesn't have to be necessarily getting rid of everything per se,
Mm.
versus really, prioritizing the things that you choose to keep. And I love that you share your story. I know you and I, we connected because our stories are a little bit similar as far as divorce with young kids. And I went self-care a little bit more so, but it does all connect to then kind of really prioritizing in your life what is important, what brings you that energy and that calm and that peace that you're looking for. And that is a big part of, I think, finding your happiness, as well as then the way that you share it with others is definitely empowering.
Yeah, definitely. And I love, and just meeting you and seeing and being reminded of the self-care. Like I do see that the decluttering and creating this environment isn't it's totally an act of self-care. But I certainly have been the shiny new thing, like, oh, this course will help me, this coach will help me, this so and so will help me. And I found that I'm not alone in that, and that actually it was a case of we do all need lots of different things, but it's sometimes just putting them in the right order. And so once I'd sorted out my home, and I find this with some of the people that I help as well, they've said, like, I'm a starter and not a finisher. But once they're in an environment that supports that, then okay, yeah, I'm going to do whatever Daniela sets me. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like, they then find that they can start finishing things or focusing on those other elements of self-care. In your questions to me, I was like, oh yeah, I'm not so great at this side of things, but yeah,
Mhm.
fascinating.
So what would you say still kind of stresses you out, or is something that still challenges you?
Oh, stresses me out. My children. No. I do like, as much as I help people to clear out their homes. I have two children, and
Yeah.
I home ed them, and obviously mess and clutter comes. And it does kind of raise my cortisol levels a bit, but I think I can kind of go, okay, I know this is going to be sorted in a few minutes. But I think one of my biggest challenges is my own health. I'm in that place where I think so many people that are in kind of service and helping others, that it's so much easier to help somebody else. And then we kind of, forget ourselves. And like I say, just looking at some of your stuff, like, actually, yeah, my health, I don't necessarily put, I've gutted my diet, which includes not just what I eat and drink, but, the media I consume and all the rest of it. But I don't think I've quite got to the point where I've replenished it enough. I say, like, clear out so you can find out what's most important, and then start filling your life with what's most important. And I still think on the health side of things, like my physical health, that's a big challenge for mine. And I think a lot of that just comes from the energy and how much energy goes into my children rather than myself, perhaps.
Yeah. And I think, we're all kind of works in progress and growing in different areas. And as we become more aware of different things, we can't tackle it
Yeah,
all at once too. You have to pick one at a time. You do systematically go
absolutely.
through each area. It's just different seasons of our life bring different changes and different
Mhm.
priorities. And I think allowing ourselves the grace, I think too, just to accept that we don't have to have it all together right now.
Yeah.
We can be in a good place. I read a quote from somebody the other day, like something about we can still be in happy with where we are and still have goals to want to be a different place or a better version of ourselves at some point. Like, it doesn't mean we're unhappy with ourselves now just because we still have future goals for where we want to be. Allowing ourselves that.
Absolutely. And I love, I talk about seasons quite a lot with people as well. And sometimes people will say to me, like, I'm struggling with even the thought of the boxes that are in the loft, or these sentimental things that are coming. And so, well, perhaps it's just not the right time. And there'll be a time that actually it's time to then tackle that kind of thing. And even just I was looking at the trees the other day, looking at and thinking, oh, they look so sad out my window, with the branches are all brown, and it almost looks like, it's kind of bed, and that side of its life is not so great. But I know that within a few weeks there'll be lovely green buds on them and all the rest of it, and that we have to, everything else in life goes cyclic, and I think we have to realize and acknowledge, like you said, that we are too, and we're not going to be in bloom all the time, but there's stuff going on underneath and work elsewhere.
So what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail?
Oh, I like this question. I am one for pushing myself out of my comfort zone, but the one thing, if I knew I would not fall flat on my face, I would be applying to be the speaker at the MGM Arena in Vegas at a conference that I've attended myself in front of 25,000 people.
That's fantastic. And like I always tell people, this is where we're putting our dreams in the universe to start propelling them forward. So we're gonna definitely. What was the topic of the conference? Just curiously.
So I have an Arbonne business, and it was the annual global conference that I went to a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and Mel Robbins was our keynote guest speaker, and I just saw her come out on the stage and thought, this is just phenomenal. And yeah, the topic would be about simplifying and removing all that noise. And I was introduced to the world of personal development through the Arbonne business, which I haven't done for a while, but thank goodness for the introduction to this. You can grow and you can become whatever it is you want to be, but all of that stuff, I still had too much noise in my head. So I want to kind of be able to share the fact that we can quiet the noise a little bit and really focus on building whatever it is we want to build. So that's the big goal that I'm working to.
I love the connection you made earlier, even between, removing items helped remove the noise to give you the clarity to focus. That connection, I almost kind of laugh a little bit. Sometimes if the weather's bad, my kids would laugh at me that I have to lower the radio to concentrate on the road. But it's like, sometimes we need to kind of get rid of that other stuff in order to quiet it down, to be able to focus.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just hosting a room this morning on Clubhouse where we met about all different things clearing, and we talked about this noise as well, and how that kind of shiny new effect, right? There's something you want to achieve, and somebody's very cleverly speaking to your pain points through all these different media that come towards us, and you're like, oh yeah, that speaks to my pain point. I need that. I need this. And I think, until we just add, by doing that, we just add to the noise, add to that feeling of not being enough because we haven't got enough time or focus or clarity to sit down and do the thing. The amount of unfinished and some unstarted courses that I've purchased over the years is unbelievable. I'm gradually working my way through them, because now, like we were saying about the seasons, it's the right time, and perhaps it wasn't. But yeah, I think we all there's I think I might have mentioned it when we were talking in Clubhouse, called Silent by Erling Cragg, and it's a very small book, but it's all about the power of silence. And I think for me, that's about that space. I like you say, connect that to creating quiet in the home, creating quiet on my laptop if I clear out all the noise in my emails, etc. And yeah, just a few moments of silence can be worth so much. If you can create some more of that in your day-to-day life, I feel like it helps us then focus on what's most important.
Right. No, that's a great point. And like I said, it's these other connections sometimes that we don't think about that can be the most powerful and have the most meaning to really, whether it's motivate us or help kind of really focus in on why we want to do it or what we are hoping to get out of it. Because I think sometimes our expectations then can play a role into how invested we are in it. And if we can change the motivation to be more aligned with what we're invested in, we're going to be able to stick with it a little bit better than if it's just for the purpose of having my boots lined up neatly or things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just listening to you sharing about that, I'm actually started thinking, sometimes it amazes me, but I know why now. A lot of people who go through any kind of decluttering process, there's an element of surprise at how they feel. And I think now it's because many of us don't realize what's kind of in those things that are there. And sometimes if we feel demotivated and we feel like we don't really know where to start, someone once said to me, action cures everything. And at the time, it didn't really ring true for me. But now I feel like, I've been through those slumps and I still have those moments where I dip in and out of depressive thoughts, but I'm able now to catch myself. But one of the first things that I'll do is go and find a drawer. I'll just go and find a
Come
drawer
to my
because it's
house.
something
Got lots.
it's something small that you can take
Yeah.
control of. And actually, perhaps you might get rid of something that you just didn't realize the energy within that thing or the thought or the connection was holding you down or holding you to your past or something like that. So, yeah, it's powerful.
And I always kind of tell people too, because they see it and so daunting, like that whole massive decluttering or trying to approach it. I love that you focus on it's just a drawer, set a timer for 10 minutes if you need to, but just pick
Yeah.
one drawer as your action. The action doesn't have to be massive.
No.
Sometimes those mini micro shifts that can have the most power.
Yeah, and actually, I know I've watched a lot of Tony Robbins stuff, and regularly I hear him say, change your physical state. And that's why I think also it's powerful that it's not even just about what you're clearing out, is the fact that you've stood up, you've moved, you're doing this, you're walking back and forward to the bin or, doing something. So you're just getting everything flowing again. And even that, beyond the actual, before the clearing, can just help you get a bit more motivated.
Right. So what would you say are the three things you're the most grateful for? What I like to call your 3 Gs.
My 3 Gs, absolutely top of the list, my children. I just feel so blessed that I get to be their guide momentarily, that they're on loan to me, I see, and I just need to make the most of it. And I think one of the reasons that gratitude is so high is because I did feel at a certain point when they were very young, like I wasn't the best for them. And now I realize I am. So I'm really, really grateful for that. I would say, and this is a massive one to be able to say for me now, I'm actually grateful for my past and all the traumas that I went through when I was younger. I've spent maybe about 20 years identifying as a victim of those things, and through the decade of clearing and through the work that I've done, I've now sort of thought, I'm helping people now, and if I hadn't gone through all of those things, I wouldn't have learned all the lessons that I've learned and grown in the way that I have to be able to help them. So definitely, yeah, I never thought I'd say I'm grateful for my pain.
Own your past as opposed to trying to ignore it. That is amazing. It brings you, I'm sure, just a lot of strength.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of that calm and that peace that I was saying about before. I'm not stressing, I'm not blaming, I'm not angry. I'm just okay. I just and I have to say, and this brings you into this as well, all the incredible people that are coming into my life right now. And I do attribute clearing. You'll get to know me, Danielle, always, whatever anyone comes to me with, I'm like, oh, let's just clear something out. But I feel like, especially when I went through that area of the wheel of life with friends and family, and I identified who really wasn't serving me, which that sometimes sounds so harsh, but it just wasn't for that season of my life and where I wanted to go. Those people shouldn't have been there. So being able to make that space, which meant being quite brave and being willing to be a bit lonely for a while, I feel like I made that space. I opened my arms up and went, welcome, I'm ready now. Who's next? And then I'm meeting people like you and, wonderful students and clients and other people that are teaching me. So yeah, all the people as well. So much to be grateful for in this world.
There is, absolutely. And I think just kind of recognizing that those boundaries are hard to set, especially with people. I think that's one of the harder ones that we feel the most guilt because we carry their feelings about it versus our own. And to be able to clear other people's expectations and carrying the responsibility for their feelings can emotionally clear up so much space because now it's just you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do find, and again, this has only been through going through my own journey of all the clearing and stuff, is that boundaries is so hard for so many of us, and women especially, I feel, because and parents, like once you see those little bundles, it's just like, yeah, you can have all of me, all of my energy, all of my time, and then that flows out into the rest of the world as well. And so I think we get to a certain point in our life, perhaps around our kind of mid-30s up to 50s, and just go, whoa, I want a bit of me back. But then we struggle because we've let those boundaries go or we've not set any. And actually, something so simple as learning to, set boundaries within your home and just go, this drawer's going to stay empty, or I'm not going to have clothes in my wardrobe that make me feel a bit rubbish or whatever. Practicing it on that physical level, like we were saying about just action, then I believe that it exercises. I know that you're practiced in NLP, aren't you? Are you? I don't know. Oh, sorry.
Social worker though, so different but similar.
On a NLP kind of level, is that reprogramming and actually practicing that setting boundaries with your space and your environment. Then you can find, and that's how I found being able to step back. It gave me the clarity and confidence, then be able to quietly step back from those people in my life. And to be honest, I didn't really need to do much. I just made a decision. They always say that life's won and lost between your ears, don't they? It's what goes on here. And so those people are still doing the same thing. And in fact, they were just in that ether. But I made that decision with clarity and confidence that I'm going to step back from that and just see what happens. But it's having that confidence to be able to do it and practice it.
And I think too, just even to come to the self-care perspective of how I look at it too, it's like you can't fill from an empty cup, and you need to, invest in yourself in order to have the energy to give to your kids, to give to everybody else. You're really not giving your best self.
Yeah, absolutely. On that, I always say the empty cup thing, and I'd love to share with you. I don't know whether you like it. A lot of people like it. I heard a while back, and I really love this. There's that whole, we can't pour from an empty cup, but I see that, and I'm sure a lot of other people see that, quite a big vessel to fill. And so that almost, there's this selfishness and this guilt about putting yourself more important or as a priority. And a friend of mine goes to a slimming club, and the lady there said to her and the other people, my darling, you just have to make yourself an eyelash more important than the rest of the world. And I just found, I love that, because she does this. I know we're on audio now, but she kind of puts her finger up to her eye to just show it's just this tiny, tiny little bit. But by doing that, it's not selfish. It's important. You need to do that to be able to obviously fill other cups. But it's just, I don't know, having it as that little bit. It's like, oh, maybe I could do that.
Absolutely. With self-care, it doesn't have to be a massive spa day or an hour for massage or whatever. It could be taking an extra couple seconds to really smell your coffee before you drink it, or to sit and let the sun warm your face for a second before you go. Just those little moments, like you said, that little eyelash, that little micro shift, can fill you up huge.
Absolutely. Although I'll never say no to a spa day and a massage.
I was just going to ask you, like, what would you do if you had more time? I'm guessing if the spa might be one of them.
Well, I do, out with of COVID, I do, I do invest in myself in that way. I was thinking about this, just looking at this question, and I thought, I don't think I'd do anything different. I would do more of what I'm doing now. And I think that's a massive shift for me as well, because I was like many other people going, if only I had more time. I really wanted for more time. And then over the years, I've realized that it's not so much more time that I need. I just needed to get clear on where I choose to spend that time. But I would just do more
time doing what you love, which is what
absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Tanya, for joining us today. If you guys have any questions, please feel free. Tanya's links are in the show notes. Leave them in the comments or just send me a message, and I will definitely pass them along to Tanya. So thank you, Tanya. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tanya. I've really enjoyed this chat.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and leave a 5-star review so that more women can hear Tanya's story. And thanks so much. We'll see you soon.